since we are actually live and have a flag to pledge. Is there someone in the live audience or in the chambers who would be able to lead us in the pledge?
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Everybody stands up at home too. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I will call to order the regular meetings of the Thompson Springs Special Service Fire District. Present, we have Commissioners Kevin Walker, Sarah Stock, Evan Clapper, Trish Hedin, Mary McGann, and myself, Jacques Hadler. We also have County Administrator Mallory Nassau, Assistant Administrator Quinn Hall, Clerk Gabriel Wojtek, and Attorney Christina Sloan, as well as Strategic Development Director Chris Baird. First order of business for the Thompson Springs meeting is citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens to be heard for the Thompson Springs Special Service District? All right, seeing none, I'll move on to the approval of minutes from the February 15, 2022 meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the February 15 meeting.
I move to approve the minutes from the February 15th, 2022 Thompson Spring Fire District meeting.
A motion by Mary. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Trish. All right, motion by Mary McGann, second by Trish Hedin. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously, 6-0. Next order of business is the ratification of payment of bills. And that the bills are in the amount of $4,319.02, as well as total payroll in the amount of $1,646.88. Total bills and payroll in the amount of $5,965.90. Do I have a motion?
I move to ratify the payment of bills for the Thompson Springs Fire District.
Thank you, Mary. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Was that Trish?
Yes.
Thanks, Trish. All in favor, raise your right hand or say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Can you see us okay, Jacques, when we...
I can see you when you raise your hand. Yeah,
Okay.
You're definitely a little bit small, but maybe wave it around a little bit.
Okay, got you.
All right. Next order of business is Chief Markham's report, and not seeing Chief Markham, I think he had that sent over, and I believe Mary is prepared to read Chief Markham's report.
Yes, on March 1st, the Hazmat Protein Emergency Thompson Spring UDOT Station, Thompson Springs Fire Department, E21, E31, E41, and Moab Valley Fire Department, Utah State Fire Marshal's Office, and had a hazmat emergency. On the 2nd, MVA semi versus an SUV with fatalities, Highway 191, mile marker 151, Thompson Springs E21, Moab Valley Fire Department, Grand County Emergency Medical Service, Utah Highway Patrol, and Grand County Sheriff's Office all responded. On the 3-8, there was a car fire on I-70, mile marker 182, Thompson Springs Fire Department responded. On 4-8, MVA on I-15, mile marker 171, Thompson Springs, Grand County Emergency Medical Service, Grand County Fire District, Grand County Sheriff's Office, ECSO, and Utah Highway Patrol all responded. With equipment, there were new tires, For the E41, new pump installed at E21, received grant reimbursement check for full amount, $9,224. Training, ongoing new member training every Monday evening and every other Sunday afternoon. Working to get new members red carded for wildland fires. On the March 2nd, Chief attended RT 130 Wildland Fire Refresher at Green River Fire Department. Department awarded State Fire Marshal Fire Department grant of $5,000. Money will go towards PPP, 2 handheld radios for new members and portable scene lighting. On the 10th of March, Chief attended an interagency Fire Springs operation meeting in Green River. That's the end of his report.
All right, thank you for that, Mary. If there is no more order of business or comment, then I will adjourn the Thompson Springs Special Service Fire District Board meeting of March 15th. Meeting adjourned. It is 4:06, and I will call to order the regular Grand County Commission meeting for March 15th. Present are everybody that was here for this Thompson Springs Special Service Fire District Board meeting. I also see Elisa Martin from Planning and Zoning here. Our first order of business today will be the nomination and appointment of commission chair, as we have a vacancy for the chair spot. I would entertain a motion for a nomination for the commission chair.
I move to nominate Jacques Hadler for commission chair.
Thank you, Mary. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote and I will abstain from this. All in favor, say aye or raise their right hand.
Aye.
Looks like the measure passes 5-0. So thank you. I will be the chair going forward. That means there's a vacancy for the vice chair. So I would entertain a motion for a nomination for vice chair for 2022.
I'll try making a motion from afar. I nominate Mary McGann to be vice chair.
Thank you, Kevin. I have a motion to nominate Mary McGann for vice chair. Do I have a second? Sarah Stock, seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote for the Grant County Commission vice chair. All in favor of Mary McGann, raise your right hand or say aye. Looks like it passes 6-0. So congratulations, Mary, you're vice chair. All right. Next up, we have citizens to be heard. Please keep your comments to 2 minutes. And do we have any citizens to be heard?
Hey, Jacques, do we want to parse out that there is that public hearing later for the rezone out in Spanish Valley, that will be separate?
Yeah, that's a good point, Trish. There will be a separate citizens to be heard at 6 p.m. if we're still on, as well as for the special hearing we will have. That's our last item on today's agenda. So if you are here to comment on the public hearing, then we'll hear your comments at that time. Do we have any regular citizens to be heard? All right. Doesn't look like there's anyone on for public comment.
Actually, for purposes of testing audio, if there's anyone in the audience in the commission chambers, would it make sense to ask them to get to the table and just say a couple of words? So we can see if we can hear it here.
If you want, I'll do it. How's my mic check? Can you hear me, Kevin?
Yes, I can. Sounds good so far.
Yep. All right.
Here, this one. Does this one work?
I heard that as well.
Should I try the phone?
Great. And we don't have a view of the audience in the chambers. Is there actually an audience today or anybody?
Just a bunch of cardboard cutouts.
All right.
That did happen once,
Sounds great. All right, last call for citizens to be heard. Looks like we have none, so we will move on. It doesn't look like we have any department or agency reports today. So the next order of business will be the approval of minutes from our March 1st meeting. Let's see, Commissioner Wojtek. I guess I would entertain a motion for the approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes for March 1st, 2022.
Thank you, Mary. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kevin. I have a motion on the table to approve the minutes from the March 1st meeting. Commissioner McGann, second by Commissioner Walker. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes, raise your right hand or say aye. All right, looks like that passes unanimously. Yeah, it is a little bit difficult to see. I can see Evan over there. Mary, your hand. So maybe, yeah, give me a vigorous. There you go.
There's probably something in behind me that's.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it looks like that.
So Jacques, on the little square for the commission chambers in the upper right,
Right.
click there. It says pen, and that'll make it large temporarily until you click unpin to make it small again. So.
Right. Oh, good one. Yeah. Excellent. Good one.
What's he doing?
Oh, I can enlarge your square temporarily, which is good for votes. Great. Okay, minutes have been approved. I will move on to the ratification of payment of bills, total bills in the amount of $761,890.81. Total payroll in the amount of $320,454 or $54.49. Total bills and payroll in the amount of $1,082,345.30. Do I have a motion to approve the bills?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Mary and a second by Evan. Any discussion? I will call for a vote. All in favor of approving the bills, raise your right hand or say aye.
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 Thank you. And that passes unanimously. All right. We are on to, actually, pull the right. We're on to commission member disclosures. Does any commissioner have anything they need to disclose concerning today's meeting? All right, great. Then we are on to general commission reports and future considerations. And let's see, I will start with the commissioners in the chamber. Mary, do you want to go first?
Let me pull up my notes. Okay. We had a solid waste special service meeting, Canyonlands Solid Waste Authority now. They've created a berm at the Moab landfill to make a visual barrier between the Lions Back Resort and the Moab landfill, and also it helps with going up to Sand Flats. Transfer station danger of climbing into the back of clubs. Trucks are being eliminated by purchasing a self-tarping system. So that will improve the safety and for our workers. There's discussion of how they're going to deal with the danger of pulling onto the highway from Klondike. It's an issue because the trucks are slow and there's a lot of cars coming fast. So there's been some discussion on how to handle that. Office space is looking at where there's need for office space, and that it is a safety first, not profit, and the issues around needing to send the single stream recycling to Denver has been discussed, and we're looking for some way to be able to take the single stream recycling back to Salt Lake City. There's a shortage of CDL drivers, just as there is everywhere. So that's my report from the solid waste airport. Safety, there was one cancellation of a flight due to weather. The Salt Lake City flights have resumed. There were a record number of enplanements in February. They did a water report, and they're getting 35 gallons per minute, and so it's enough to take care of the present water needs and probably water needs into the immediate future as well. Tammy, Andy, and Bill went to the St. George conference. The taxiway is a high priority and being relocated near the entrance to the runway. And we had a meeting about the possibility of films in Grand County, and where, if such happens, will the county help with the creating a place for them to be able to set and place for filming. And then we went and visited with Team Rubicon that are in Grand County until this coming weekend and are doing a great deal of work around
I believe our audio just cut out.
Or yeah, I was gonna say we can no longer hear you. I think we can.
just kind of go to some.
You're Mary. Actually, I think you're live again. I can hear you.
I'm live again.
Yeah.
Just okay. Where was I? Team Rubicon, exciting. Right. If you go by Old Spanish Trail Arena, I recommend stopping in and thanking them for their service. That's my report.
All right. Thank you, Mary. How about Trish next?
Okay, thank you. I went to the Grand Conservation District. A couple quick things. Youth Garden Project was there and reported that last year they produced 7,000 pounds of food, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
40% increase from the year before, so that's pretty neat. We are getting a local food guide together, which will reflect our local producers. The Grand County Small Scale Agricultural Workshop is coming up at OSTA. That is March 31st from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It'll go over soil health, weed control, bees and pollinators, high tunnels, pest management, and it will tour a local CSA. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, there is work being done on Mill Creek and Pack Creek to prevent further entrenchment in our CS. Reflected that. There was some talk about gray water, and this is something that I'll talk to with planning and zoning, utilizing more effectively gray water systems. They're approximately $1,000 a house, and so something to really think about as a county. And then NRCS, within their working groups, they have approximately $1.7 million to spend in Grand County, which is a lot. It is centered around small farming, riparian work, fuels reduction. Applications are always open, and so something to think about. I went to the Grand County Local Homeless Council. As always, that's a little bit discouraging in this last month. So February, 177 individuals being served by homeless services such as Seek Haven, MVMC, and Moab Solutions. 64 regarding just flat out homeless, and another 91 at risk of homelessness. Oh, and this was really exciting. So there is a new website that has all housing resources in one place, moabhousing.com. I don't know if we can get that on the county website. I'm throwing that out. that's okay over there. I'm sure it already is somewhere, but moabhousing.com. It was really cool. Katie from Hasu put that together, and it's just fabulous. So it's got everything on there. I went to the planning commission, pretty mellow. We didn't have a lot going on. We did have a citizen that was really concerned about our OAO ratio and how we're coming about with those calculations. And so it's just something to think about, where are we gathering that data to make those calculations? And then some concerns about the strategic plan, and are we making sure that we're getting enough public input? I know John's been doing and Elisa, really fabulous job making sure that the public is incorporated into that, but just making sure that we do that right. And then lastly, today we had a meeting with USGS and Mark Stilson from Water Resources, talking mostly about there's a bajillion things to talk about, but ground and surface water monitoring within the valley, and how imperative that is that we get that into place. But the first step was that we are trying to get a gauge on Pack Creek, basically where it goes into the Pack Creek community. So where it crosses that bridge, and that way we really just need to know how much water is coming in there, because Pack Creek basically goes underground and becomes groundwater. And so that was something that I think we pretty much made a commitment to right away, hopefully with other entities such as San Juan County and the city and the Division of Water Rights. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Trish. Evan.
Yeah, so I met with the Cemetery District Board. Things are functioning well over there. I had mentioned a few weeks ago there was a new hire. Things are going well there. Updated some policies regarding Christmas decorations and when those come down. Met with the Sand Flat Stewardship Committee and went over a lot. That's a quarterly meeting, so just a lot of kind of looking at annual reports, year to date, that sort of stuff. It might be worth mentioning that parking lot expansion at the turnoff to Potato Salad Hill should be happening this week or next week. So the loss of that kind of historic Hell's Revenge exit trailer parking is kind of being moved across the street there. Studies about the entrance and trying to ease congestion there is ongoing. There's plans to start the expansion of the Raptor route to connect down to the campgrounds, the Falcon Float Trail, etc. Some things that also might be interested is we had asked them to update the 5 tips for an awesome Moab adventure to kind of be more well-rounded in the showing different recreational opportunities around. And so there were some edits made there, and that video looks well. And there's some new videos in the works on biological soil crusts and potholes and things like that. So I did mention to them the land swap with Bears Ears and the possibility of that of Sitla getting a plot next to the Lions Back development that would span the Hell's Revenge Trail there. So that was, everybody else kind of also got the memo late, and that was kind of news to them. So that was some, we didn't talk much about a response or anything there. I also met with EMS Special Service District. The big news there was giving the director a raise. It hasn't happened since the district separated from the county, and so it was overdue. They went through a similar wage adjustment as we did as an organization for everyone but the director, and so it was just kind of the board's job to kind of set that. And we also got a legislative update from them about bills that had passed, and then there's some other business from EMS that will come up later in the meeting, so I will stop there, and that's all I got.
All right, right on. Thanks, Evan. Sarah.
It's been a busy couple of weeks. This is my big quarterly first of the month report, so bear with me. First, I had a meeting with Bill Grimes, who's helping our planning and zoning department, and we just discussed some of the stuff that he was going to present at the open house later that day, and yeah, I don't know. And then I've been continuing work with the Public Lands Committee with Jacques and Kevin to continue to analyze public comment. We have meetings, and yeah, that work continues. Then I met with the Community Renewable Energy Program Board, and we have signed a non-disclosure agreement with Rocky Mountain Power so that the program can be developed. And there's now an agreement, if anyone in the public or on the commission is interested, at our next meeting, which I believe it's on the website, but I think it's also next month, we're going to have Rocky Mountain Power present some of the program design elements that aren't proprietary information or secret, so that there's more community understanding of the program being developed. And this, just as a reminder, is a program that Grand County and Moab community people will have the chance to opt out of, but it will deliver 100% net renewable energy to our area by 2030. Good news on another front, which is our fight against the Book Cliffs Highway. The 7 County Infrastructure Coalition, yeah, Mary and Trish both forgot to mention this, but the 7 County Infrastructure Coalition voted 4-3 to table that environmental impact analysis. We're still waiting to hear from the BLM if their official application has been pulled, but that was really good. Good news for us. It shows that other counties share concerns with us and are willing to take action for us. I'm so excited. Then I had a Grand County Noxious Weed meeting, and we had an enthusiastic member of the public come to discuss our effort at eradicating goat heads around the county, which last year we know because of the monsoons were very, very prolific. So this year there'll be another community-wide effort with the Noxious Weed Department and others and members of the public. And if you're interested in that, the meeting in May, we will be discussing more. It's the first week in May. The Moab Mosquito Abatement District received a large new grant for integrated pest management in regards to the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which is the one that requires fogging through the neighborhoods. So this program, the integrated pest management grant funding, allows us to spend more money doing public outreach and trying to avoid the situation where we need to fog in the first place. And so there'll be opportunities for citizen science for setting up mosquito traps in your own yards, and education events through the school and with classrooms. And it's really exciting. And it's really great to see Michelle, who's taken on that district. She's the new district manager, applying for this amazing funding opportunity and getting it. And she's got a lot of enthusiasm, and it's great. Then I attended the USU tour of their new academic building up on the hill, which is very exciting. They're like installing tables and stuff. And we got to see the Grand County Extension wing. There's an entire wing of this beautiful building that is for the public, for Grand County residents. And there's a kitchen in it with a camera, so you can do cooking shows and lots of opportunities for the community to be engaged. Then I attended a Council on Aging meeting, and this is the first meeting that we've had since COVID hit. So it was really great to welcome Alicia Oliver, the new director of the Grand Center, and to come together with an enthusiastic new board and kind of get a sense of what is happening at the Grand Center. And there's still they're still practicing social distancing over there, so they're on a little bit of a restricted schedule, but looking at opening up more. But there's lots of activities happening, and they're delivering meals all across the county to homebound individuals, and they serve lunch there Monday through Friday. So just a shout out to all the work that's happening at the Grand Center. I think a lot of it goes unnoticed by a lot of people, but they're doing a lot over there. And I attended the same meeting that Trish was just mentioning, the Grand County Water meeting with Chris Wilkowski and Mark Stilson. And we agreed to move forward with joint funding on that Pat Creek stream gauge. Hopefully Moab City or San Juan County also jumps on board, but Grand Water and another party have agreed also to participate. That is it for me. Thank you.
All right. Had a busy couple of weeks there. Thanks. Kevin.
In the past couple of weeks, I was at several meetings, but I think all of them were mentioned by other commissioners, so I won't repeat, and I don't have anything to add. So,
all right. Thanks, Kevin. First off, you'll see me who are watching at home in a neck brace. So I had an accident this week that I'm recovering from. I just thought I'd start with that, so in case anyone's curious. I had a very busy couple of weeks aside from the accident. Also, I participated in the interviewing committee for the Responsible Recreation Coordinator, and I am happy to welcome Anna Sprout to that role, where she'll be overseeing the Responsible Recreation Program as well as the Trail Ambassadors. Then I attended the General Plan Open House that was hosted by John a couple of Thursday afternoons ago, along with a few other commissioners, and had some great conversations with people, constituents, and the general public. Then last week, I missed a couple of important meetings, but I did catch up with the chairs of those meetings, so I wanted to report on a few things. The first was Trail Mix. Trail Mix met last Tuesday. A couple of the points from that meeting is that they are working to establish a scholarship fund for NICA athletes in the name of Jeff Freethy, who was a longtime Trail Mix participant and created a lot of maps and stuff. He just passed away. He'll be very much missed, but that scholarship will be in his name, and it will go towards providing equipment for needy local NICA athletes in town. So I think that's a great thing. Trail Mix also did some signage work down at the Hidden Valley Trailhead to help alleviate some of the issues down there that they've had with overcrowding and bikes riding on horse trails and such. And I think all parties feel pretty good about the work that they did down there. I also missed a meeting with the Forest Service and the bike shuttle companies, as well as Tyson from Greene County Active Trails and Transportation, where the overcrowding on the ever popular Whole Enchilada Trail system was discussed in ways that we can make that a better user experience for the visitors who come here, lessen the crowding as well as the traffic on Geyser Pass Road, and alleviate some of the parking issues up there. I missed a Motorized Trails Committee meeting on Thursday. It didn't sound like I missed a whole lot, but there was some discussion of how to properly paint trail markers and signs on slick rock, as well as as trail maintenance work parties were also scheduled in that. Then yesterday I attended the same Team Rubicon event and welcome as Mary and Kevin, and it was great to see those guys in action and see how much they're doing. And again, thank you very much to Team Rubicon. Yesterday, I also attended the Thompson Springs Special Service District Water Board meeting. The main thing that was discussed there is that there was a consultant hired to look at the fee structure for water in Thompson Springs. So that was a pretty lengthy discussion with him, and moving forward, they'll be looking at changing the fee structure out there. They're also got some applicants, and they'll be hiring an assistant water master out there in Thompson. And then lastly, I also attended the water meeting earlier with Trish and Sarah that just concluded about an hour ago. So that's it for me this week, or the last couple of weeks. And that's it for commissioner reports. Next up, we have elected official reports. Christina, are you ready to report?
I'm here. There's a bit of chaos going on around me. I did want to do a quick noise update. Okay, pass on me. Why don't you talk to Gabe and then come back to me?
All right, Gabe, any updates from the clerk's office?
Just jumping right in over here, getting familiar with the software. We got grammar requests, we got grant reports. The auditing consultant, they pushed back. They were going to be here tomorrow. They pushed back 1 week, but staying real busy. That's
all right, awesome, Gabe. Good to see you over there. Let's see if Christina, are you ready, or I can go on to administration report as well.
Yeah, no, I'll go ahead. I'm getting a lot of questions, of course, about noise and HB 146. That bill won't be effective, assuming it's signed by the governor. It hasn't yet been, but most bills have not. It won't be effective until May, so we have a little bit of time. We are beginning a process in the county to reassess all of our strategies. We spent 2 years on this before we came up with our Title V business regulations, but we're going to go back to the drawing board and look at everything and potentially approach that anew. The sheriff's office, must at some point when they have capacity serve a starring role. We haven't actually been able to even train them fully because of COVID, and our noise expert was not able to travel back to Moab during the Omicron surge. So that's a priority for May. We will be working on a list of new strategies to present to the commission, and we'll certainly take that public as soon as we can. We'll work with our ATV businesses, with the chamber, with the city, and of course we're interested in hearing from the public too during that whole process. So we're really just at the start, but we do have a little bit of time. I haven't even had a chance to analyze what survives in Title V after HB 146, so that's certainly one of my first next moves. Related to noise, we also of course get a lot of complaints recently about helicopters and motorized parachutes. And that's certainly a discussion to continue to have, and we've been engaging the BLM on that as well. I did want to alert the commission, so I'm not aware that you guys know, there has been a second helicopter company approved to operate at the airport. And I think this will be of great frustration to many people in the community. I'm not sure, Mary, if that's even been reported to the airport board yet. We're still working on an operating agreement. What I want the community to understand is because we're a federally funded airport, we actually have no authority to limit air uses at our airport. So unless the FFA comes in and determines there's a safety risk and we can't have certain users operate there, we have no power to restrict the operation of a second helicopter operation out of the airport. So I did want to let the commission know that's something you're going to be seeing probably pretty soon before you to consider.
Chrissy, do you mind if I jump in really quick?
Great.
The other thing that just occurred in San Juan Planning Commission was that they approved I guess you would call it a resort on 211 going into Indian Creek that has a helipad. And I think they said that there could be up to 3 helicopters off that helipad.
I think they've talked about 2 even.
What, 2? Okay.
2. They're going to put 2 helipads out there.
Just so we're aware.
And counties can regulate within the county where there's takeoff and landing. So that's a place to work with San Juan County on, but I know we have, so there's more work to do there apparently. But as to our airport, I know folks are going to be frustrated, but this commission doesn't have the authority to restrict that, unfortunately.
All right, thanks.
And that's it for me.
I hadn't heard that. Anything else, Christina?
That's it for me. Thank you.
All right, on to the commission administrator report. Mallory.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I attended some of the meetings that you all have shared already. And I also attended or participated in a meeting with the Indigent Defense Commission. As you may recall, we're working on a grant with them. So we just went over where we're currently at with that process, and some ideas for the future, including modifications to that program one day. It's not guaranteed, but something that would be a better fit for rural counties, if you will. I know it's something we're still working on, but other counties have had some hesitations. So I've tried to share that feedback, and they will be working to see if they can implement those changes. Let's see, I also attended, along with Quinn and Sarah, a Moab Mosquito Abatement meeting, and I got to meet Michelle for the first time. She's lovely. So thank you, Sarah, for connecting us with her. The other thing is I attended a meeting with HASU and the Southeastern Utah, the Moab Free Health Clinic and the Southeast Utah Health Department. And it was to go over their potential project at the USU campus. It was pretty cool to hear about it and to see some of the layouts that they're envisioning and kind of their thoughts on pursuing funding opportunities to make it into what it needs to be to serve the county. So Joette and I loosely talked about having them present at a future meeting, perhaps a joint meeting, but again, it was really cool and hopefully something that will be brought to all of you soon. And that's all that I have.
All right, thank you, Mallory. Quinn, do you have anything to add?
Not at this time, no.
All right, thanks, Quinn. It looks like we're now on to, we don't have any presentations, so we're on to our general business action items, discussion and consideration of, and our first item is item B, approving the special event permit for the Jeep Commando 2022 event. Angie Book, our director at the Old Spanish Trail Arena.
Hello, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So Jeepster Commando, this is an event. It's happened before. I think the last time it happened was probably back for my time. I want to say probably 2017, 2018. And it's an event for vintage cars. They come in and they do a car show, trail rides, organized events, things along those lines, social club. So they will be coming in April. They're expecting about 150 people. They've rented the arena, the conference room, and they'll be doing some of the BLM trails. Are there any questions that I could answer in addition to this?
Any questions for Angie or a motion?
I move to approve the 2022 Jeep Commando special event permit under the current approval special event ordinance.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mary. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Evan. Motion by Mary, second by Evan. Any discussion on this?
Angie, remind me the expected participant numbers on this.
We're expecting 150 vehicles.
All right.
Okay.
And
And
these
then
are,
there
these are
might be
float-
2 or 3 folks with each vehicle plus presenters.
Yes.
Okay.
And these are all vintage cars, concept cars.
All right, awesome. Any further discussion or questions for Angie? All right. I will call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right, motion passes 5-1 with Commissioner Stock in opposition.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Angie.
Oh, and Jacques, before me, sorry, I meant to get this in the right discussion period, but in the packet materials, it was saying the maximum participants was 150. And I think Angie just said maximum vehicles was 150. So which one is it?
I believe it's 150 vehicles. I could get that number and email you if you like, but I believe it's 150 vehicles.
Okay, I just want to make sure maybe on future applications is clear whether we're counting vehicles or participants.
Okay.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, Kevin. Moving on to item C, approving an on-call engineering services contract extension for 2 years. Bill Jackson, our road department supervisor, and Chris Baird, strategic development director, presenting.
Okay. Glad to see people down at the council or the commission chambers again. That's awesome. So yeah, we're here this evening just to approve this extension, a 2-year extension for the on-call engineering service contract, which we're kind of overlooked it for a little while. So we're kind of playing catch up and to finish out the year and take any questions.
All right, any questions?
Chris Barrett may have some other things he'd like to say as well. He actually did most of the work on this, so.
Are there big fee changes for those different hourly wages?
Yeah, there's definitely some fee changes. I haven't actually been able to go clear through them like to give you a percentage, but I think there was one for an example, the engineer 2, principal engineer 2 was the 2018 was 2007, I think, and I think now it's like, or I'm sorry, yeah, 175 an hour. Now I think it's like 220, somewhere around there. But I didn't go through all of them.
You still think it's a better deal than having someone in-house? I mean, obviously for this year, but in the next, once this one comes up in a couple of years.
Right. What I think county needs to do is take maybe an audit. I think most of the engineering expenses is through the planning and zoning for the development review process and things of that. And I don't really know what kind of money they spend on that. As far as my department, I'm probably depending on how we do the projects and whatnot, but I could be in maybe 25,000 a year. So that's something to weigh, I guess, and
yeah.
And
it looks like Chris might have something to say, but he just sent us a message that he is unable to unmute. Would someone be able to give him assistance?
but I can definitely look up the exact amount as far as my department, but it's in the ballpark there.
All right. Any other questions for Bill, or is it's a shame we can't hear from Chris. If there's a possibility, maybe if you could call in, Chris, or something.
Yeah, we're selecting the ask to unmute and nothing is happening. So I don't know what is going on, but yeah, calling in would help.
Right. Anyway, in the meantime, any other questions for Bill, or I would entertain a motion on this one. If you can hear us, Chris, Kevin is suggesting that you could just try restarting your Zoom.
Or maybe, Chris, you could give us a chat if we should wait on the vote, if you have something earth shattering to add.
Right. Good point, Evan.
So just to give you some parliamentary procedure practice, I move that we table this until Chris's connection issues are
Figured
solved.
out,
And
right.
revisit it in a few minutes.
Okay, good point. Kevin moves to table. Do I have a second?
I see a comment from Mr. Baird saying he
So,
was summarizing the increase, and he said it's fine to approve. So I know that we have things hinging on having engineers on board. So
And Chris
I
does
do
say it's
not support tabling it.
okay.
Yeah, we have some project coming up that definitely will need some engineer consultation.
All right, as a point of procedure, Kevin, since there is a motion on the table to table in a second, do we have to hold that vote first, or would you like to withdraw your motion?
If I'm allowed to, sure, I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, Kevin has withdrawn his motion. Would somebody like to make another motion?
I think we had that motion in a second already before the discussion, didn't we? I thought I seconded it. Maybe not. I would move to approve the independent contractors agreement for Jones and DeMille and Horrocks Engineering for on-call services effective through December 31st, 2022.
Excellent, thank you, Evan. Second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Mary. Have a motion on the table by Commissioner Clapper, second by Commissioner McGann. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please raise their hand or say aye.
Aye.
Looks like the motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Thank you. Moving on to item D, approving a conditional use permit for a home business and associated farm stand located at 4051 Easy Street in Moab, Utah, located on parcel number 02-011A-0002. Elisa Martin, Associate Planner.
Thank you, Jacques. I apologize for my video. I'm not sure why it's not working today. Okay, yes, this is the applicant is seeking approval of a conditional use permit for the purposes of operating a home business with accompanying farm stand. Approval of the conditional use permit would allow the applicant to have additional employees and allow for business activities related to selling produce and other farm products. The property is located in the rural residential zone where farms are a permitted use, and a farm stand as well as a home business require a conditional use permit. The applicant meets the requirements for home business and farm stand per LUC sections 3.3.2 F, use specific standards for accessory uses, and section 9.10 conditional use permits. The property currently accommodates a primary dwelling and an accessory dwelling unit with attached garage, which was the old milking parlor from the McClish's Dairy, as well as an existing farm growing crops, fruit trees, and hens for eggs. The farm currently provides produce to local residents, the Moonflower Co-op, as well as local restaurants. The attached garage off the ADU will be renovated to be the farm stand and is separate from the ADU. There is a 1-hour fire petition that will remain between the ADU and the farm stand, even though the building code would only require 1/2-inch sheetrock on the garage side. Such space would include the front retail stand, internal prep room for employees, and a rear washroom and cooler space. The construction plans included in the packet show the addition of and renovation of the ADU, which, just for your information, so it's not confusing, that's actually a separate building permit and not part of the CUP. The ADU deed restriction recorded in the real property records of Grand County, Utah at entry number 505476, which prohibits its use as a nightly rental or for commercial uses, will remain in place. Site improvements in connection to the proposed conditional use permit will be in accordance with Article 6 General Development Standards of Grand County's Land Use Code and the International Building Code. The applicant will be required to apply for building permits for such work to be conducted. The proposed home business farm stand is consistent with the 2012 General Plan Section 3.2 Vision, Goals, and Strategies, in which the goal of providing for a diverse, prosperous, and sustainable economy is supported by several strategies. The Easy Bee farm stand satisfies two of those strategies. Strategy F, fostering a business-friendly atmosphere where entrepreneurs can thrive, and Strategy J, support of buy local programs. The Easy Bee farm operation is consistent with these strategies by contributing to the local economic system and providing locally grown produce to residents and commercial operations alike, thereby increasing sustainability and diversity of the local economy. The subject parcel is located in the rural residential future land use designation in the 2012 general plan, which calls for agriculture and single-family residential uses. Staff has reviewed the proposed use against the criteria in section 9.10.5 conditional use criteria and found that there are no detrimental effects that cannot be reasonably mitigated. Those impacts and mitigation measures are described as follows. The location of the home business farm stand is on a 1 acre parcel traditionally used for farming and within a rural neighborhood. The 676 square foot farm stand will be built within an existing structure and is designed to blend in with existing architectural styles on the property. It will not exceed the height of the attached building and is screened in by other structures on the property. Circulation and parking is provided at the front of the property in the same location where parking currently exists for the dwellings. A total of 6 parking spaces are provided. Such parking area is screened from view on the west side of the property by existing vegetation. External impacts of the home business farm stand are expected to be minimal, as existing farming activities will continue as they have. Daily operations of the farm stand, including processing, cleaning, and hand packaging produce, will occur within an internal prepping space of the farm stand, so as to minimize disruption to the surrounding area. Additional operations include selling farm goods to the public. These activities will not generate fumes or odors, dust or smoke, vibration, fire hazard, or excess noise or light. Visitors to the farm stand are expected during the day within designated regular operating hours, such that the farm stand operators may manage overcrowding on the property and traffic on Easy Street. A CUP for a home business would allow Easy Bee Farm to employ up to 3 persons who do not occupy the subject property. Staff recommends the following conditions of approval. To minimize the impact of noise and prevent excessive light from the operation of the home business, the Easy Bee farm stand shall be open to the public for business during designated daylight hours between sunrise and sunset. And to minimize the impact of traffic along Easy Street and parking on site, Easy Bee farm stand shall manage business activities throughout the day in such a manner to distribute the amount and flow of traffic related to the business. That's it for my presentation. Do you guys have any questions?
All right. Thanks, Elisa. Any questions for Elisa concerning this?
Yeah, Lisa, I guess I don't understand what it means, the second piece of that, to minimize the impact of traffic. They shall manage business. I mean, what does that mean? To me, it's
so
just,
I guess what the intention of that condition was basically that the operators of the farm stand would ensure, and we could word this differently, but basically to ensure that when they're selling products of maybe they're spacing out throughout the day, different business activities. So it's not all concentrated during like one part of the day. They might have different activities going on, such as the CSA drop off, or pickup times. That might be one activity, and that could be like in the morning, and then later in the day, it could be something else that they're providing for the public. But I guess the idea was just to kind of space things out during the day, so that traffic is kind of dispersed and not concentrated during one part of the day.
Okay. I'll make some comments once a motion is made.
Okay.
All right, any other any other questions for Elisa, or would someone like to make a motion?
Actually, this is a question maybe for Elisa or maybe for Christina, but when we, and this is general, I'm not really aiming it at this particular conditional use permit. But when we approve a conditional use permit, is that like a permanent approval that can only be undone with some kind of zone change, or can we approve it and then if it seems like it's not working out, unapprove it after a year or two? Do we have any options or do we have to sort of get it right and there's no correcting things if we later regret granting a conditional use permit? And again, I'm emphasizing that this isn't specific to this particular farm stand.
Yeah, you do have the right of annual review. I do recommend you add it as a condition. But that annual review is going to be limited to your conditions.
Okay.
So we've identified noise, excessive light, and traffic. Those are the three subjects, if you approve it with similar conditions to here, that you'd be limited to reviewing those issues a year from now. I'm not aware that Grand County has ever suspended or revoked a CUP upon review. I do know more in the city of some issues that required some mediation with the owner. So it's certainly a tool that we should use.
Okay,
I have
and
a
so does that mean that we should modify the motion to add some kind of annual review then, or is that implicit already?
I copied and pasted our land use code. At least, do you know if there's an automatic annual review? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think that would need to be added into the conditions of approval.
Yeah, I recommend doing so. I don't think it's in our land use code. I'm honestly not sure in state statute. So I'd rather you guys just either, table and we can review it further or postpone, or we could just add it as an easy solution.
Okay, thank you.
Christina, I have a question as well. Is a conditional use permit a legislative decision or an administrative?
It's administrative, and we learned this in the McElhaney B&B case. That was a city case where the Utah Supreme Court told us, hey, you guys need to look at CUPs or conditional uses as uses by right, and your work is administrative in determining what are impacts that can or cannot be mitigated. What does that look like, and what do the conditions look like? There's a very, very high bar for disallowing a conditional use. And the legislative work that is separate is that if you find that something in our code is a conditional use now and does not belong in a certain zone, our legislative work is to remove that conditional use allowance out of our code. But the matter before you, it's more akin to a use by right than anything else.
I have another question for Lisa. I'm looking at the parking lot. So the setbacks off the road, which I think are 25 foot. I mean, those were changed for Strawberry. I won't bring that up, but well, I did just bring it up. But we've got a 25-foot setback, I believe. Is there enough room between that setback and the building for parking? I mean, can you park in setbacks? Can you designate that as parking? I didn't think so. Maybe you can just help me with that. I'm not sure.
My understanding is that you can have parking within the setback, but I can double check that as we're on
that'd be
here.
great if you just double check that for me.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Elisa or?
Elise did add the language from the code about a requirement that the applicant submit an annual statement of compliance detailing how the applicant has complied with the terms. That is a recommended condition of approval or an allowable condition of approval. So it is not automatic and does need to be included in the motion. So that's in the chat box.
Okay.
Thank you, Elise, for getting to that so quickly.
Yeah, and I just want to also mention that the applicant is on, so I don't know if we want to have a chance for them to comment while I'm looking for the parking question.
Sure. The applicant is
Rhonda and Peggy, Rhonda Clyde.
sure. If you want to keep it brief, Rhonda or Peggy, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, all I have to add is the way I have been operating my community supported agriculture right now, I'm at capacity. This is just going to help. I think it's going to help with flow and people and all of that to have this. There is a lot of parking up there in front of that building where I thought that we had the parking situation designated. I took out garden to put in parking. So yeah, we'll just see what Elisa says on that. But is there any questions about a farm stand or?
Does anyone have a question for Rhonda?
No. Okay. Well, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Rhonda. All right, anybody else, or would anyone like to make that motion?
I don't really have a chat box in the chambers, so if the attorney made edits, could somebody?
Well,
Sure, I'll try to make the motion.
Yeah,
But that's a good point about the chat box.
Right.
Okay, so I move to adopt the findings of fact from the staff report dated February 8th, 2022, and send a favorable recommendation. Well, looks like we're not sending a recommendation, so let's strike that. And approve the EZB Home Business and Associated Farm Stand Conditional Use Permit for Grand County Parcel number 2-11A-2 with the following conditions to mitigate reasonably anticipated detrimental effects of the proposed use. 1, to minimize the impact of noise and prevent excessive light from the operation of the home business, the EZB farm stand shall be open to the public for business during designated daylight hours between sunrise and sunset. And number two, to minimize the impact of traffic along Easy Street and parking on site, EZB farm stand shall manage business activities throughout the day in such a manner to distribute the amount and flow of traffic related to the business. Okay, now Gabe should pay attention. Here's where I'm ad-libbing on the motion. So I'm adding to the motion that there shall be there should be an annual statement of compliance to ensure that the conditional use is applying is satisfying the conditions listed here.
All right, thank you, Kevin. All right, have a motion by Kevin, a second by Sarah. Any further discussion on this?
I just want to say, I think it's great that you're providing so much for the community. And I think that the more local food that we can produce in such an ethical and biodynamic type way, the better for our community, even if it increases traffic a little bit in the rural residential areas.
Yeah, so my comments, I'm just wondering, in light of what Christina said, maybe the planning department for all future conditional use permits should just include that annual report language. And we can take it out. We think it's not necessary for a particular conditional use. And then as far as this proposal goes, it does, it seems like this type of business is a conditional use. My impression that this is coming in at kind of the low end of impacts to neighbors. So I think, in the absence of evidence to the contrary, I'd be inclined to approve this, since our code does envision allowing some farm stands at least, and this doesn't seem like a particularly bad farm stand in terms of impacts. So,
All right. Thank you, Kevin.
I was just going to make a comment. I do support what Rhonda's doing. I think it's great. She's my neighbor. I guess, and this is difficult, but we have to start thinking about the overall impacts of the development decisions that we're making time and time again. So that little street, and here's the thing, Heather and Easy Street, I don't think that was all American Acres. They were 5-acre lots. And I think that my guess is that's what those roads were built for, was that type of traffic. So we've now cut up all those lots. In one case, we cut them up into 1/4-acre lots. Everybody's taking their 5-acre lots and dividing them into 1-acre lots. I think I have another business running off of my street. And so the traffic is unbelievable. I will just tell you that. It's really amazing. I've called the sheriff and asked they've helped me with trying to mitigate the speed of that road, because it's a thoroughfare to another development on Chapman. And so I just want us to start kind of gathering a picture of, as we are, approving these developments, the flow of traffic and what that means. I will tell you that street, and I've only been there for a few years, is no longer what it was even when I moved there. And so that it's literally not built for that. The sides of it are crumbling. When I walk down that street, the sides are crumbling. I've called Bill multiple times to fill in potholes. So I think if we continue to look at that, we need to look at the actual structure of the road and can it support it? And I would say right now, no. But I'm not going to vote on this because Rhonda is my neighbor. But I do want us to just have a larger feel for, as we're approving developments, for the neighborhoods that we're putting them into. And in this case, it's not a development, obviously, but it is going to increase the traffic on that street.
Right. Thank you, Trish. You make some very good points there. Any other comment on this?
I actually would like to address what Trish has just said, is that possible? Just that what I was trying to say earlier is the business is not growing beyond, I've maxed myself out with agriculture, and the number of CSA shares and the things that I do right now, it's not, there is a demand for agriculture, but I'm not planning on a significant increase from what I've been doing for the last 8 years. I've been building this agricultural business for the last 8 years and have had my neighbors supporting me mostly. So
yeah, and Rhonda, you know that I support you. I guess I was just trying to make the larger.
Developing rural.
I want to weigh in. Our policy, once there's a motion on the floor, is we don't hear from the public or applicant. So
yeah, I was just trying to make the point really on a commission level that I want us to have a bigger picture of what what are happening to communities. So that was my point. And you know that I support you.
Thank you, Trish. Point well made.
So I also wanted to respond in a different way to Trish's comments. I do think we frequently come across cases where existing zoning, which was maybe drafted 10 or 15 years ago, seems really ill-suited to addressing the issues that we have today, and often allows developments which most people don't think is a good idea. And fortunately, we are just about to start revising our land use code, and so I think that is a great time to keep in mind things like what should the minimum lot sizes be, and what do we allow with PUDs and all that stuff. When it gets to a stage like we're the meeting here, our hands are often tied quite a bit in the way that Christina outlined. A lot of our decisions are administrative rather than legislative. But when we're revising land use code, we get to do what we think is best. And so I'm hoping we'll all sort of remember the sort of issues that Trish is talking about over the next few months as we start revising our land use code.
Right. Thank you, Kevin. Any more discussion? All right, if not, I will call for a vote. We have a motion on the table by Kevin and a second by Sarah. All in favor, raise your right hand or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. All right, and Trish, looks like you're abstaining, correct?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0 with Trish abstaining. Thank you. All right, next up is item E, approving volunteer appointment to the EMS Special Service District Board. Commission Liaison, I believe that is Commissioner Clapper, is that correct?
Yes, it is. So this came about when Jason Taylor, who was serving on the EMS Special Service District, was elected to the city council. He could no longer wear two hats. And so in a dramatic thumb wrestling war, Jason Taylor won the appointment from the city to serve as the city representative for the EMS Special Service District, and Ronnie Dercieri stepped aside. But then that left a vacancy as a citizen member, and with no other applicants, Ronnie was willing to fill that role and serve. So the EMS Special Service District met in an open meeting on March 15th. That's today, reviewed all the applications submitted, which was one, and interviewed all the qualified applicants for one approaching vacancy. The board voted to forward the recommendation of Ronnie's application to the county commission for appointment with term expiring December 31st, 2022. So with that, I'd like to move to approve the appointment of Ronnie Dercieri. I don't know why I stumble on that, to serve on the EMS Special Service District Board with term expiring December 31st, 2022.
Derossery.
Second.
Was that Mary seconding?
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion on the table by Evan. I have a second by Mary. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving Ronnie Derossery?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. All right, next up, we have approving volunteer appointment to the Canyonlands Healthcare Special Service District Board Commission Liaison. And I think that was Gabe, who is no longer a commissioner. So would anyone else like to present, or would it be appropriate for Gabe to present this?
Either one. We received a letter here. It says, "Dear Grant County Commissioners, Canyonlands Healthcare Special Service District received one application for one open vacancy. The Canyonlands Healthcare Special Service District met in an open meeting on March 10th, 2022, and interviewed candidate Lou Irby. On March 10th, 2022, the Canyonlands Healthcare Special Service District met and voted unanimously to recommend the commission to appoint Lou for a term ending December 31st, 2025. Signed, Tim McGinney.
All right, thank you, Evan. Yeah.
So with that, I would move to approve the appointment of Lou Irby to serve on the Canyonlands Healthcare Special Service District Board with term expiring December 31st, 2025.
Thank you, Evan. Second by Sarah. I have a motion on the table by Evan and a second by Sarah. Any discussion?
Thanks, Lou.
Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of appointing Lou Irby, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. All right, next up is agenda item E, approving G, approving commission office manager job title change to commission coordinator. Mallory Nassau, commission administrator.
So we put this on the agenda. Currently, as you all know, we are hiring for a full-time office manager, hopefully commission coordinator. And we just felt that the position is really demanding, and not to discredit office managers, but that this title would be much more reflective of the duties and all that the position entails. And there would be no change in terms of pay. job duties. It's just the title.
All right, thanks, Mallory. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, Jacques.
Thank you, Trish. I have a motion by Commissioner Hedin. Do I have a second?
Oh, I haven't made it yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Trish. Please feel free to make your motion.
That's funny. I move to approve the retitle of the commission office manager to commission coordinator.
Wonderful. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mary. I have a motion by Trish and a second by Mary. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor of changing the name, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Looks like this passes unanimously as well. All right, next up, we have item H. Approving notice of vacancy and intent to appoint a replacement for at-large county commission. We are replacing Gabriel. I will just read this. This is a notice by Clerk Gabriel Wojtek. Notice is hereby given of a Grand County Commission midterm vacancy. Effective March 4th, 2022, Gabriel Wojtek resigned from the Grand County Commission in order to assume the position of Grand County Clerk Auditor. The term of March 4th, 2022 through January 2nd, 2023 for an at-large seat on the Grand County Commission will be filled by appointment. Any persons interested in declaring their intent to be considered for appointment to the commission vacancy may submit a letter of intent and resume to the office of the Grand County Clerk beginning Friday, March 18th and ending Friday, April 1st. The Grand County Clerk's office is located at 125 East Center Street, Moab, Utah, 84532. And this will be published in the Times Independent on March 17th, 2022. So I would entertain a motion to approve the notice of vacancy.
I'll make a motion, Jacques.
Thank you, Trish.
I'll make a motion to approve the official midterm vacancy notice for Gabriel Wojtek's seat.
Motion by Trish. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mary. I have a motion by Trish and a second by Mary. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand or say aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We're on to our last action item. Item I, approving Grand County face covering policy. Mallory Nassau, Commission Administrator.
So this is something that we've modified from our last policy to align with the CDC COVID-19 mask recommendations. Previously, we followed the state's transmission index risk levels using their matrix, and this has kind of shifted back to the CDC, and it encourages mask wearing and has a few stipulations for that, but really it is kind of loosening things up. So again, it's following the CDC. I think it is the best way to proceed at this time, but the policy should outline, the steps that would require masks as well as the matrix that we would be following.
All right, thanks, Mallory. And I think we've all had a chance to look at that policy. Any questions for Mallory, or I would entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Trish.
I move to approve repealing and replacing the Grand County face covering policy effective March 11th, 2022.
I have a motion by Trish. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Evan. Any further discussion?
I would just kind of mention that there was some discussion prior in the week about whether this would apply to the airport. And they're under other guidelines that kind of trump our authority. So.
Right, they have to adhere to the their own guidelines. The FAA.
Yeah, just a note to the public.
Thanks, Evan. And I saw Sarah raised her hand.
Oh, sure. I'd just like to highlight, I know that it's a loosening of policy, but I'd like to highlight that in this policy, individuals who are positive for COVID obviously are required to wear face masks. And then individuals who have been exposed are strongly encouraged to get tested and also wear face coverings. So just in case people are listening.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand or say aye.
Aye.
Looks like that one passes unanimously as well, 6-0. All right, we are on to our consent agenda.
I think one of the items on the consent agenda needs a small modification. I think that means we need to pull it out and discuss it individually. Is that?
Yeah, that's fair, Kevin, and you can call for that. Which item was that?
This is, bring up my copy. Item P, the letter to the 7-County Infrastructure Coalition. I think Trish suggested adding a sentence to that letter. And I did modify the letter and send it back to Mallory, but it was late, and so it has not made it into the packet. So I just wanted to amend the letter that's in the packet by adding a sentence.
Okay, so shall we pull item P out of the consent agenda and do it individually?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, item P, approving a letter to the 7-County Infrastructure Coalition regarding the Book Cliffs Highway. And just pull that up. All right, Kevin, did you want to discuss?
I will. I move to approve the attached letter to the 7-County Infrastructure Coalition regarding their recent decision to withdraw support for the Book Cliffs Highway, with the following sentence added, and that sentence occurs at the end of the third full paragraph, and it says, "We also note that the highway would likely divert tourists away from Carbon and Emery counties." And I've already sent to staff a Word document that has that language, so they should have that.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. Motion by Commissioner Walker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mary. I have a motion to approve the letter by Commissioner Walker, a second by Commissioner McGann. Any further discussion of the letter?
I would like to just confirm that I asked Mike McKee for copies of the withdrawal of their right-of-way application from the BLM, and he did send both the request to withdraw the right-of-way application and the BLM's confirmation that is deemed withdrawn as of March 11th. So that we have all that in our files.
All right, great news. Any more discussion? I will call for a vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand or say aye. Looks like that passes unanimously, 6-0. All right, we are on to our regular consent agenda. Let me just pull that up. Item J, ratifying the chair's signature on the Utah Rural County Grant Part B contract. Item K, ratifying the chair's signature on an enterprise agreement renewal and introduction with Environmental Systems Research Institute Incorporated. Item L, ratifying the chair's signature on a letter to Governor Cox requesting HB 146 veto. Item M, approving local consent for the South Shell Station off-premise beer license. Item N, ratifying the chair's signature on a work order and agreement with Jones and DeMille Engineering for the Natural Resources Conservation Service, Pack Creek EWP. Items O, approving commissioner appointment to the Old Spanish Trail Arena Advisory Board. Any discussion of the consent agenda as presented, or I would entertain a motion.
Do you need a motion? So should I move to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Yes, please, Kevin.
Okay, that's what I so moved.
I just have a question. Who is being appointed to the OSTA board?
That is Trish. That item,
Oh.
Trish and I swapped places when we did the rec swap also, but she just hadn't gotten approved yet.
Oh, okay. I was just sorry. I was lost in the packet. I would second that.
All right, I have a motion by Kevin and a second by Sarah. Any further discussion of the consent agenda approval? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand or say aye.
Aye.
Looks like that passes unanimously as well. All right, we're on to discussion items. Discussion on the Utah State University Moab time capsule. Commissioner McGann.
Yes, it's exciting that we're on the first. They will be burying a time capsule, which will, in 50 years, when it is recovered and brought back up, it will have some items that will remind us of what our community looked like or was experiencing during 2022. One thing for sure is going to be in there is a mask, for instance. And so we, after the tour that I think, Kevin, you were on the tour, and Sarah and myself and Chris Baird, we decided we should bring this up to the board in case, as a commission, we would like to have something placed into the time capsule. So that's what we're opening it up for discussion. One thing I thought I would like to put in the time capsule is the governor gave me a copy of the House bill that created Utah Raptor State Park. So I thought we could put that in the time capsule, so there would be, in 50 years, they'll realize, oh, this was the year it was created. So I was going to suggest that's something the council could put in, if everybody agrees.
Sounds great to me, Mary. Yeah.
So I will get that to Utah State. I know where it is. Any other ideas of what would be fun to put in the time capsule?
I assume space is a huge issue, so smaller such things.
Yeah, that's why that would be good. It's just paper that can be folded up real small. Letter size.
I was trying to think of a few things. I think, I was trying to think back to like what was going on 50 years ago here, and then try to imagine what 50 years from now would be like. And I was thinking that whether it's us or someone else, we should encourage something from the pile cleanup initiative, because hopefully that's long gone and thing of the past in 50 years.
Good idea.
And I don't really know what would represent that well. Maybe a model
Picture
train car or something. Another thing that I was thinking about was kind of like what defines these, this 50-year window that we're living in. And I was thinking a lot about like the recreation economy. And I was also thinking how fun it is to see like old gear. Like if I look at climbing gear from 50 years ago, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe people are climbing on this. So I don't know if anyone from like Trail Mix or something might be able to contribute a bike part or some climbing gear or something that, in 50 years, people might be nostalgic about seeing dug up.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of
those are good ideas, Evan.
space. What would be good for space in that?
So another idea is just a set of aerial photographs of the area showing what's currently developed and what's currently open land. I'm imagining there might be some changes in that in 50 years.
Yeah, the county property downtown and how different it will look in 50 years with all our expansions and building. It's going to happen soon. I don't know,
Maybe
Chuck,
some
what do you?
Colorado River water in case there isn't any.
I was thinking that some matrimony spring water in case it was gone.
Just a
yeah.
little vial.
Yeah. How about a vial of dirt from the UMTRA site that we can represent as part of the cleanup?
Yeah.
Little
Maybe one of the like warning signs on the fence with a little radioactive symbol.
right.
I'll have to relook at the size. I'll talk to, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll take the ideas to Utah State tomorrow.
yeah.
I like your recreational economy thing, Evan, and one bike part might be a mechanical bike shifter, which are ubiquitous now, but they're soon to be
Oh, totally.
obsolete in favor of everything's going electronic.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
I want to buy a Sprinter van, but it's too big. obviously.
A bike shifter?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they're pretty small,
okay.
but
So you guys could help.
specifically a mechanical bike shifter because they're all kind of getting replaced with electronic.
Yeah, maybe even like half a handlebar with like a brake lever and a grip and I don't know.
Or
Do
a
you think
trail-
do you think you could take that to Trail Mix and
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet.
Any other ideas? So I have something to represent the UMTRA project, the state park, a shifter, an area photo. Was there anything else mentioned?
Who would be good to tap for those photos? Wonder if you even-
Probably, I bet the travel council. I
Okay.
bet, Robert probably has something
Because what's the timeline on this? It's
soon.
yeah, they want to do it on the 1st. Yeah,
So this wouldn't take much. I can get this done tomorrow.
great.
I have the park thing. Be easy for me to get the UMTRA shifter.
I can procure the shifter for you, Mary, for sure.
Okay, and I'll go to the travel council for the area photos. Take them over to Utah State. Say this is the county's contribution.
Thanks.
Any questions? Anything else? I think that's really good. I think
Yeah, that is good.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Any other ideas on that one? Got a good list?
yeah, got 4 things. UMTRA
Okay.
State Park shifter and area photo.
Perfect. We'll move on to discussion item Q, discussion on Bears Ears Land Exchange. Kevin.
Yeah, so as we all know, there was a national monument designated a few years ago in San Juan County, and typically what happens with such designations is the sitla parcels within the designation get traded out for BLM or other federal land, outside. And that's typically a long, complicated process because there's a lot of haggling about land values and things like that. So we've known that discussions about a Bears Ears land exchange have been going on, but we haven't seen many details. When I've questioned people like local BLM managers, they just say it's going on, higher up in the hierarchy than they are, and they don't know much about it. Just recently, Sitla released a map showing, I think this is just Sitla's proposal. It's not something that's necessarily agreed on or anything like that. But a lot of the parcels that they want to trade into are in Grand County. I'll show the map in a moment. And so I just think as a county, we should decide, one, do we want to be engaged with this and trying to influence it? And two, what do we like and dislike about a land exchange? So I think we should have that discussion. So if there aren't any preliminary questions, I can go ahead and share my screen and show what parcels we're talking about.
That'd be great.
I just for heads up of something that I was working on, and I was going to see if Kevin or someone that's really involved with this, I was working to get a meeting with Nada Wolf Culver, who is the Deputy Director of Policy and Programs at the national level for the BOM. She's going to be in Grand Junction the end of April, I believe. I was going to meet with her to talk to her about our concerns over the Book Cliff Highway. Well, that's mute at this time, so I think it would be worthwhile shifting our request for a meeting to discuss the transfer of Sitla lands. What do you think, Kevin?
I think that's a
Or
good
anyone?
idea. And I think especially because it seems like that, you know, she's a very high level person in the BLM, but it seems like this is being discussed at high levels and like field offices, like our local field office are being kept in the dark. So I think it's an excellent topic for that meeting.
So I'll move forward and put in that schedule, ask for a meeting, but I'll change the topic to this. I'll pass it by the commission.
Yeah, and there might be some follow-up things on the Book Cliffs Highway as well. So we might want to keep that on the agenda as a minor agenda item.
Yeah, it could, yeah.
Okay, so here's this map. It's the exchange covers the whole state, but I think most of the affected parcels are in Grand or San Juan County. So this map shows only those two places. You can see all these red things within Bears Ears National Monument, some of them outside Bears Ears National Monument. Those are ones that are going to be traded out, and the yellow ones are things that are going to be traded into. And one thing that jumps out to me immediately is there's more Grand County trade-in sections than there are San Juan County trade-in sections. And then zooming in on Grand County, there's quite a bit near the Green River in the Labyrinth area. So here's like Hell Roaring Canyon, for example, up closer to 10 Mile Canyon, further upstream. So that's the bulk of it in Grand County. And many of these are areas that either Grand County has proposed for wilderness in the past, or, you know, in the public lands proposal that we're working through right now might end up being proposed for, if not wilderness, some other kind of conservation designation. So those seem potentially concerning. There's a little tiny yellow dot right there. Let me zoom in. Can you all see when I'm zooming in?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm losing resolution, but this is, I think someone mentioned this earlier in the meeting, but this is adjacent to like the Lionsback Casilla parcel, and would create, anyway, it's very, very close to town. It's something we might want to pay attention to. In San Juan County, the southern end of the valley, they're proposing to pick up, basically extend their existing large holdings a bit further south, getting, you know, closer to the Pack Creek area. So that's mostly, I guess I covered everything except for these things out near Westwater, these two parcels there. You know, it's unclear how we can influence this, but I think talking, you know, Sitla tends to be very focused just on trying to maximize their value and get as much, you know, their mission is to generate money for the school system, and they don't really take into consideration many things beyond that. So I'm not sure that discussions with Sitla would be that fruitful, though we could try. But I think also the federal government has to agree to this, and that's where we might have some more influence. I tend to think that, you know, with the development pressure we have in Grand County, our existing private and Sitla parcels are creating a lot of development issues for us, and increasing the amount of Sitla land doesn't really move us in the direction that I think we're trying to go. When we talked about a land exchange in the context of a Grand County public lands proposal, the message I got back from Sitla was that they thought they were running out of suitable parcels to trade into, and they'd rather just have cash. And that's, for example, in Grand Stake Escalante, there wasn't a land for land trade. It was a cash for land trade for the Sitla parcels within there. So there is precedent for that. So one thing we could try to do is just encourage the federal government to come up with money rather than giving up existing BLM land. I don't know. So we should probably, we can't craft an entire game plan for influencing this, because we don't have enough information, but we can at least decide the direction we want to go. Like, do we want to encourage more Sitla trade in Grand County, or discourage them, or encourage them only in certain places? So I'll shut up now and see if other people have something to say.
Yeah. Thank you,
I
Kevin.
like the idea of trying to do the buyout or the cash for land exchange.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not entirely in favor of all these SITLA trades either. I'm with Evan. I know a couple of the SITLA parcels up on 313 are on top of popular mountain biking trail systems, which could be a problem.
Yeah, and I think one concept, I expect the reason that they're trying to trade into these parcels here in the, west of Highway 191 area, Labyrinth, is because of mineral potential, and I think SITLA has been aggressively developing minerals up there now, and they do and things. And the same parcel, if it's managed by SITLA versus the BLM, I think it is more likely to be leased and developed.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm especially concerned about the ones, that big chunk, 9 squares over 10-mile Hell Roaring, and the Lions Back development. I don't think anyone here would like to see expanded. So even though that's a tiny little square, it seems important. Yeah, I'd be interested in trying to see what the county can do to sway the federal government. I find that SITLA is difficult to work with. They're difficult to find out information about development, and they're not, when they're planning to lease these minerals, they're not looking at the BLM's larger land management plan. So it's in our favor to have the BLM managing this area as a whole with a holistic vision versus SITLA in this piecemeal, piece by piece, trying to exploit it to the fullest extent.
Yeah, I think that is a good point. The sort of, the sort of standard fragmentation we see on public lands, where 4 out of 36 sections are managed by SITLA, that already creates issues, and I think this trade would move it in the wrong direction in Grand County. I think getting a sort of unified BLM ownership of an area is really helpful to us. Okay, so maybe, this is just a discussion item. The sense I'm getting from the commission is that we should look for ways to avoid having so many trading parcels in Grand County, which could mean talking to the federal government or possibly talking with SITLA. Am I understanding correctly?
I think that's accurate, Kevin.
Okay, that's it, and thank you.
All right, thanks, Kevin. We are now on to agenda item T, which is a public hearing. This is a public hearing to consider and solicit oral and written comment on an ordinance approving a rezone request for small lot residential zoning to property located at 4400 Spanish Valley Drive on parcel number 02-0026-0040. Lisa Martin, Planning and Zoning.
Thank you, Jacques. Okay, yes, this is an application for a general rezone request to change the current rural residential zoning on an 11-acre parcel located at 4400 Spanish Valley Drive to small lot residential, which would allow a density of up to 5 units per acre, taking into consideration land that would be dedicated to roads, drainage, and open space during the subdivision process. The developable land would likely be less than 11 acres, and therefore density on the parcel will not be a direct reflection of 5 units per acre. The concept plan for the future development proposes 9 duplex lots totaling 18 units and 20 single-family lots for a total of 38 residential dwellings with an average lot size of 0.23 acres. The rezone request requires no current site plan improvements. Later site improvements in connection to a proposed subdivision will be in accordance with requirements of Article 6 General Development Standards, Article 7 Subdivision Standards, and Article 9 Administration and Procedures. The subject parcel is located within the rural residential future land use designation of the 2012 General Plan, and therefore a rezone to small lot residential would not be consistent with the current general plan or future land use plan, as small lot residential at this location would allow for higher density housing than originally envisioned in 2012. The adoption of an updated general plan and future land use map expected within this year could have an outcome that would support higher density in designated areas within Spanish Valley, but that has yet to be seen. The proposed rezone application is in conformance with land use code provisions of Article 9.2.2. And in terms of the land use code section 9.22.5 issues for consideration, I will address a few of the most relevant of those. Staff does not believe the original zoning was adopted in error, as the area in Spanish Valley has historically been rural residential. In terms of a change of character in the area, over the years, higher density development has been approved on nearby properties along Spanish Valley Drive, including a subdivision with half-acre parcels and another with 0.3 acre parcels that are both in the rural residential zone. As far as the need for the proposed use in the community, there is a need for higher density housing in Grand County for local residents, but there is currently no way to ensure that housing within this development will serve local residents. In terms of potential benefits to the community, the rezone to SLR could provide additional middle income housing for local residents, but again, there's currently no way to require affordable or workforce housing units for new development with our current land use regulations. The development is not within the future annexation boundary of Moab City, and the proposed density and intensity of use would be permitted in the proposed zoning district. In terms of the proposed uses being compatible with the surrounding area or uses, there may be adverse impacts of higher density housing in an area that was originally envisioned to be maintained as rural residential, and where many properties are established horse properties and or accommodate other agricultural activities which may be in conflict with higher density residential development. There would likely be adequate public facilities and services available to serve a development of this type and scope. And finally, the proposed zone change does not, or I'm sorry, it does constitute spot zoning. I can show you, or just going to share my screen here with the map or parcel map. Can you all see that?
Yes.
So just to give you context, the parcel that is requesting rezone is right here. And it's all yellow is all rural residential zoning, but these are the subdivisions that are just a bit higher density within the rural residential zone. So just kind of to give you that context. The zoning doesn't quite match what's on the ground, but that's not uncommon. And that's all I have for the staff report. Is there any questions?
Any questions for Elisa?
I do see the applicant is here, the applicant's representative, Jim Schneppel.
Okay, Jim, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Oh, great. Well, first, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this land zone application or rezone application. As a brief introduction, I've been traveling to Moab for the past 35 years as an adult, mostly to camp and ride my mountain bike and stay in Moab. I love your area. It's a fantastic place. Professionally, I've been involved with real estate and land development for over 20 years. In addition to residential developments, I've also worked on developing large-scale solar projects, such as the one that's going in up by Price, near Wellington right now up in Carbon County. And I've also worked on energy efficiency projects, helping Utah home builders build more efficient homes. Efficiency and the efficient use of land are things that I really value. It's no secret that Moab has a housing crisis. Earlier today, I ran through the multiple listing service for your area along in Spanish Valley and found only 5 active residential lots that were listed between 175 and 310,000. The other lots were, or I say called lots, most of them were larger pieces of land that were quite expensive. In looking at actual built houses, excluding properties that allow for overnight rentals, there are only 5 homes listed with an asking price of under 1 million, with the lowest one starting at 479 as an asking price. I understand Elisa's point or her summary that the general plan and the land use plan don't lay out something we would conform with if we did get this rezone. But I think you're in a tough problem right now. I mean, it's difficult. The extensive use of rural residential and large lot residential zoning in the county, in the Moab area, makes it incredibly difficult to develop land and bring it to market at kind of the middle price range. And by middle price range, I'm talking somewhere in the 130 to 170,000 per lot. Our pro formas we've been looking at, we ran between 140 and 150. And but if you're looking at large lot residential, and I mean, that's given a rezone to SLR. But looking at rural residential with a 1 acre minimum, you're looking easily at lots that are come on with an asking price of 250 or higher, which does very little to put any inventory in the market that local people are going to potentially afford. And I'm not really talking about affordable housing here. I'm talking more about middle income people. The land under consideration is 11 acres. Right now it's fallow agricultural land with no intent to return it to agriculture. We would like to develop it, and we would prefer not to move forward with just 10 lots, which we don't think will do much for the community. We'd rather do, the SLR that would give us somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 lots. And yeah, we would make more money doing that, but we would also bring a product that the community desperately needs. And we feel it's important to the community to have those options. In addition, having smaller lots, it generally will mean that smaller homes are going to be built, which would be a more efficient use of resources. You're going to have fewer building materials going into these homes, and they're going to have a smaller ongoing utility consumption as the years go by for each home that someone lives in. And we actually feel that this is a good place for a rezone. It's along Spanish Valley Drive, which is a primary artery running down all the way down the heart of Spanish Valley. Water and sewer run next to the property, and as mentioned by Elisa, there are already subdivisions that are front-loaded lots along Spanish Valley Drive. One of the counterpoints that was brought up, or by a number of people, neighbors, during the planning commission that we had some odd months ago, was that they want to maintain the rural feel of that area, and I appreciate that. I do understand that. But I will say also that rural feel has diminished greatly over the last number of decades. And I feel like, you have a housing crisis there. And I think wherever you look, people don't necessarily want to develop in their neighborhoods, but something's got to give at some point. And I feel like this is a very good area for it. Plus, if you look at what's going to happen in Spanish Valley with the extensive sitla ground down there and the proposals going on, there's a finite amount of private land owned down there, but you're looking at some pretty large developments going on down there as well, which is going to feed, to be honest, a lot of traffic down Spanish Valley Drive along with Highway 191. Anyway, we feel like this could potentially be a good project that would benefit the community, and I thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you, Jim. Anyone have any questions for Jim? No questions? Any further discussion?
I mean, Jacques, this is really for public comment. Is that correct? So we would, is it best to just hold our discussion until the next meeting? That's what I thought. Would you agree with that? Let the public weigh in and we'll just.
Right. Absolutely, Trish.
Okay. If that's okay. I'm just.
No.
I have a lot to say, but I'll just wait until the next meeting.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay. Actually, I don't have it in front of me, but what is Mallory, do you know what the period for the public hearing would be?
Have we officially opened it yet, Jacques? I missed that if we officially opened the public.
Oh, I have not officially opened it. I was hoping to get the time period. Sorry, I'm
You're okay.
A little off the back on this one. So the proper procedure would be
first meeting chair ever, Jacques. You're on a roll here.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, so first, I'll officially open it. I'll officially open this public hearing to consider and elicit oral and written comment on the ordinance approving rezone request for small lot development or small lot residential zoning to property located at 4400 Spanish Valley Drive on parcel number 2-26-40. We'll solicit public comment. And I'm not sure when the public hearing would finish.
I think it's, Mallory, is it the Wednesday before? It's 10 days essentially is what I understand. 10 days for the public hearing. So it's the Wednesday before the next county commission meeting.
Okay,
It gets a little weird, yes, when there's that extra in the week, in the month. So I'm checking actually what our public notice was for that to make sure we're in line with that one. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Thanks, Mallory.
Or 60 seconds.
Well, while we're waiting for, I don't think you have to announce the closing until all the people have spoken. So we could go ahead and let, if there's people who want to speak here, they could get started, I think.
I do think there's quite a few people that are here to speak on it.
All right, if there's anyone in the public that is on and would like to make a comment, now is a great time. It looks like, is that Michelle is unmuted?
Yeah, thank you. Michelle Peterson, landowner. And I just wanted to clarify before I gave my statement to Elisa Martin. When we met back in January, I believe that meeting was to help planning and zoning decide if they were going to recommend this to the commission today or give their ideas if they wanted to not recommend, or if you could just clarify what the meeting was in January and then where the planning and zoning department does sit on their ideas about this.
Oh, I think you're referring to the planning commission meeting where the planning commission did provide a recommendation, and the recommendation was to deny the application. So thank you. I should have mentioned that during my staff report.
Okay, no, that perfectly. Thank you. I thought that that was the decision, but I wanted to bring that to this meeting so everybody heard that. So I'll put my comments in first, just to kind of second what we spoke about back in January, that myself and my husband bought our property 5 years ago and paid a decent amount of money at the time for our acre. We're just over an acre. And we bought that property out there to get out of the city. I have grown up in the city of Moab, and I prefer the rural living that living in Spanish Valley and paying a good amount of money for that property provides for me. And also the zoning that it still is, that it's 1 acre per family out there. We ourselves, I know Dr. Sorensen will speak a lot about livestock. We have livestock on our acre that we use to feed our family and also for recreational. So having that change to something right next to us that does not have livestock in the 1 acre would definitely cause us a problem with our neighbors. We had to drill a well on our property that we had guessed would cost us $10,000 to $12,000 by the time it was over, because we were unable to get water right where we thought we should after witching and such. Cost us over 25 grand. So I questioned the ability to have enough water to provide for these 38 homes that are within a square mile of where I am now. And I drilled a well personally myself and funded it. We currently use Moffett Lane, which is off of Spanish Valley, as our private drive. This is not a county maintained road. My husband and myself maintain this road for our neighbors. I'm questioning if this is a plan that the development is going to also use this road, because it is not maintained by the county. I have concerns about how people are going to access this development from the highway. Right now, all of the road travel is going to through Abatement, especially with the Stocks Drive bridge being out right now. And the safety of all of the homes that live on Abatement is in question regarding how much traffic is on that road. And now we will add another 38 homes that will be traveling that road. I think somebody spoke about the fact that they also live on Beeman and they no longer let their kids ride their bike up and down that road. My in-laws live on that road and they would like to be at this meeting today. They were at the one in February, but they are traveling and lost cell service before we got to this number on the agenda. So those are a few of my concerns right now. I, as a landowner and had bought my home, 5 years ago, my land to build on, which we live there now, understand that this field will likely be developed. But what the developer is asking for now is just too many homes for that small of acreage. I also made a comment that should this be granted, there's another 31 acres right behind it and beside it that the owner of that property would love for this to be granted, and that be a gateway to her also having this small rural, small housing development that she could then put 5 acres per lot on. And then before we know it, that whole area has hundreds and hundreds of homes, and traffic and water resources might be a question at that point. It's just too much to grant. I think I got it all. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Michelle. Do we have anyone else who would like to comment? Looks like
Yes.
Sorensen, I see.
Yes. This is Dr. Sorensen. And I own property on 3 different sides of that lot that's in question. And I also represent Geyser Creek Ranch plus the Moab Veterinary Clinic. I agree with Michelle on everything she said. That Moffett Lane is right now is just a single road, single track. And that's not going to handle any development that way. Right now I'm spreading manure on my property, getting ready to plow, and it's got an odor to it. And every time I do that, I get a lot of complaints. I'm one that believes in natural fertilizer, and I'm tired of it. Also, I have trouble finding help because they ask me, where can they get an acre of land that they can put a horse on? There is none available in Moab right now, or Spanish Valley. And so I'd like to keep it that way. I'd like that rural atmosphere. When I moved here, I was basically the only building out here except for a couple neighbors. And I've seen it encroached. I've seen it encroached. The development right across from my house, I've received several complaints. I was here first, and I'm going to keep it that way. I just see too many conflicts coming up, and I think that's why the Planning Commission, voted against it, is because we want to keep it rural. That's why I moved out here. I moved out here so I could have that lifestyle, and it's just being encroached and encroached and encroached. I realize people want to make the most out of their money and their land, but that they bought it that way, and they ought to expect it to stay that way. So I'm definitely opposed to the development.
Traffic going next to it.
Oh, one other thing is the traffic. I agree with Michelle. Spanish Valley Drive is not able to handle much more traffic. They're not upkeeping it, and it's getting dangerous. It's getting dangerous.
Especially when we have livestock parking next to it.
All right, thank you for your comments. It looks like Rhonda, are you ready to comment?
There we go. I did submit a letter that's in your records, and that's pretty much that I oppose the rezoning of rural residential because I feel like we need to keep land, the potential for agriculture, even if people are not producing constantly on that 1 acre. We still have the potential for sustainability for our own food sources. So I would just ask that you read my letter, because that's pretty much what I have to say. The other thing is the Zoom meetings are hard oftentimes, especially an older generation. They might not have that savvy and technology to do the Zoom meetings, or it's hard. So I would just keep that in the mind in the future, and when you're getting public comment. But I have my neighbor, Sam Cunningham, who's a lifelong resident here, and she has some things to say. So I'll give you Sam.
Okay, thank you, Rhonda. Sam, please comment.
Yes, I've been in Moab since 1984. And again, we came here for the lifestyle from Boulder, Colorado. I would like to first rebuttal a few things that the developer did say. He said, quote, "We desperately need this middle income," but he said it will be smaller houses with smaller use. But if he gets granted 0.33, there's nothing that says he has to build a small house. He could build the entire lot to that house, and it wouldn't be any different than any of the large houses that are across the way from where I live at 4545 Spanish Valley. And Dr. Sorensen is correctly right. It was always agriculture. I was a county commissioner in the earlier, well, before it was a county commission, and then it was a council, and then it was a county commission. And we stressed all the time, every meeting I went to for planning and zoning in Grand County and Spanish Valley, that agriculture was a valuable thing, that there are many people that come here for adventure and all the things that we offer along those lines, but there are other people that come here for the beauty and for the rural aspect. And despite what the gentleman also said, it is something that can be considered if you feel like you've suddenly come to the suburbs of Denver instead of Moab, Utah. I would also like to correct the developer. He is not asking for a rezone. He's asking for a variance, and there's quite a bit of difference between those two. So I wish he would understand the distinction between those two. And then I would like to say that because these 1 acre parcels, as Rhonda has said, let people be sustainably, if they want to, in the way of how they run their families or their lives. I think that if in fact you go 0.33, you're not going to have anybody that's going to be able to sustain anything on that except a housing place. And I would like to definitely say that all the people I have spoken to who may not, as Rhonda says, have an opportunity to give you these pieces of information because they're either overawed with trying to run a Zoom meeting and make any comments, or whatever their reason is. I would like to say that I hope I represent the majority of those people in saying, we beg you to have some honor to this rural atmosphere that we still are desperately trying to maintain a small portion of. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Sam.
Hey, Jacques, I'm just going to correct Sam on one thing. It's 0.23. It's even more painful than 0.33.
Thank you, Trish. Do we have anyone else who would like to be heard? I see a Mitch Peterson. If you would like to be heard, please unmute.
Yeah, I agree with everybody so far. I mean, you know, I know it's no, if you look back at the ostrich farm that was right there off 400 East, knew the people, and even with just the birds, they're getting the complaints back in that time. And I mean, they were ancestored in, I guess you'd say, as far as being able to have the livestock and whatnot there. And for those of us that do own livestock, it's different when these developers don't have to deal with the complaints that we do. Livestock is they don't smell good. There's just, unless you've grown up around them all your life, it doesn't bother me. I enjoy it. But these people that come in and they want to build on these 1/4 acre lots or 0.23 acre lots, it just doesn't, they just don't get it. I mean, as everybody has said, you know, we've been here first. We bought the land so we could own horses. These people could farm and make a living. You know, they just don't get it, and that's part of our livelihood to be able to do such. So again, I'm completely against it. I think there's still plenty of land down in the Moab Valley that's could be developed in the future. Yeah, it may not be for sale right now, but eventually it's going to come. Again, I hate to see the rural area go down to the SLR just because of that. So that's my opinion, and definitely against it. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment, Mitch. Michelle, did you have something to add?
I did. The developer said that there's nothing for sale under, he gave the descriptions of 5 homes and 5 lots. When I do the math, he said himself he's going to sell these for 150,000. And if you put 4 homes on there, and he said some could have 5 on each acre, he's now hoping to get 600,000 per acre. And that is not, it's a money grab is what it is. That's all.
Thank you, Michelle. Anybody else would like to comment? Sarah?
I just have one comment. It's hard to have all these conversations about the housing crisis and affordable housing and let it stand. I feel like I need to say that it is just because it seems logical that if we subdivide a bunch of land, that housing prices are going to go down. I don't think that that's true. You can look at recent subdivisions in the city of Moab, where a little tiny condo is now selling for $875,000. And until we have assurances in Spanish Valley that that's not going to happen, then I don't think that just increasing the amount of houses in our small, tiny area is actually going to address that problem. So sorry, I just had to say something because it was hanging in the room.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, let's see, Mallory, do we find out when the public hearing would be open until?
Yes, I believe it is the 23rd, as others stated, with the 10 days. So that would be the 23rd at 5 p.m. is the cutoff.
Okay, I will leave this public hearing open until March 23rd at 5 p.m. You can submit comments to the Grand County Commission. Someone correct me if I missed anything on that.
And if we have commented here, we do not also need to comment in writing, correct? This is
that's correct, but you may if you wish.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Jacques, you might want to give that email address.
I'm sorry, commission@grandcountyutah.net would be the email address to. Thanks, Evan. All right, and I mistakenly skipped Mallory's favorite part of the meeting. I missed the special.
We also need citizens to be heard.
Thank you so much. It is after 6 o'clock and I missed our second general citizens to be heard period. So if there's anyone on who would like to make a general citizens to be heard comment, you may do so at this time. Anyone like to be heard? You may unmute. All right, it looks like we don't have any further citizens to be heard. Thank you for the reminder, Mary. And we will move on to calendar items. Mallory.
Mallory's going to force me to do the calendar items. this Tuesday.
Quinn, all right. You up for it?
All right, so March 19th, we've got the Canyonlands Half Marathon. March 26th, the Behind the Rocks Ultra. April 1st through the 4th is the Moab Run 3. April 7th, we've got the Amasa Trail Race. Jeep Safari is April 8th through the 17th. And the Adventure Rabbi Passover is April 14th through the 17th. We've got some other special permit or special events in the works, and we'll get those out to you in a couple weeks. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Quinn. And it does look like we do not have a commission meeting on the 29th, so we'll have a bit of a break for that. But the next commission meeting will be on April 5th. Anything else?
Hey, Jacques, you did a great job.
You did an excellent job.
Thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. Thanks.
Is there any word on the joint city county meeting?
Anybody?
Sorry, Jacques. There is not. That's what Quinn and I were just talking about. And we do have a meeting, not a public meeting, just a small standing meeting we have on Monday. So we are going to ask about that. I know there's been some back and forth, so we'll finalize and let you all know either way.
Thank you, Mallory. All right, if there is nothing else, I will adjourn this regular commission meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great couple of weeks.